Welcome to the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast, please follow, hit the like button, or any subscribes. It really helps us with the algorithms. Santa Cruz Coffee Break is independent of Santa Cruz Guitar Company, and all opinions are those of the speakers. Santa Cruz Coffee Break is produced by the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum. We invite you to join us on the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF for more fun. Now, let's get on with this installment of Santa Cruz Coffee Break.
I've been going about 105 miles an hour for the whole morning, so let's see if I can calm down. There you are.
There we are.
Here we go.
And welcome to podcast number 19. Can you believe it? We've made it to 19. And today we're going to catch up a little bit with Richard. He's back from NAMM and back from a trip and back from everywhere and back from across the street probably. But it's about as far as we can get to go now these days around here. But
Back from going to the kitchen.
there you are. That's the big move for me a little later. And just for disclaimers, you know, we don't know what we're saying, and none of it can be, and all of it will be held against us. So I'm sure we just go ahead, and everybody knows Mr. Hoover, and there's Tad Laird, and I'm gonna let them do the driving today. So have at it, kids.
Cool.
Thank
So,
you, Richard.
Maestro, it's hard to believe it's been only 4 months since we've last talked to you, but wow, what a 4 months.
Right. Time is all at once these days.
Yeah. So we've gone through, let's see, since we last talked to you, we've gone through all kinds of election and political and all kinds of other stuff. How are you, and how is the shop holding up? You've been through fires and floods and pandemics and locusts and I don't know what else. I mean,
You're absolutely right. Nothing unusual. Nothing out of the ordinary. You know, as you well know, there's some things you don't want to know how they're done. Laws, sausages, and guitar making. And, you know, there's always something going on. But you're right, this year has been a real challenge and a real, I feel it sometimes like I'm driving the business through a hail of projectiles. And luckily, only a few of them have struck, and we're able to drag them along okay. So we're fine. And I say that in the kind of the polite public way. We're fine. With qualifications. It's a lot of hard work to navigate both the crises, the support, and to keep the team engaged and moving forward. And that's the biggest blessing for us, and that's my biggest gratitude, is the engagement of the people that work here. In spite of the adversity, they're not running off to unemployment or another job. You know, they're sticking around, and we're okay.
well, where are you at right now with the pandemic? I know that in California, you know, it's kind of a county by county thing as to what kind of restrictions are in place and such. What are you actually dealing with these days?
You know, things are opened up.
Okay.
The shutdown has been rescinded, and business is back to normal. Now, it's too much to go into in this context, not that people couldn't understand it, but it's a real matrix of regulations. And in some cases, we do have exemptions. In some cases, we don't. So we modify our hours, our staff, our shifts and so forth to accommodate all that and be within the letter of the law, but more importantly, the spirit of the law. And this is a funny thing to say, but we have a lot of people of a demographic that is at the highest risk of exposure. And in a very real sense, I feel that I can keep them safer here than I can if they were out at loose ends away from their job. So that's really where my focus is to make sure that this is a secure and safe place for them to work and avoid exposure. And also keep from going to jail or being fined. We want to be cooperative with this effort to have the virus dissipate, get back to normal and so forth. So I'm not cavalier about this. I'm not trying to operate independently at all. And it's a big job. I spend a lot of my time trying to collect information and make good decisions.
Right. Would you say you're operating at 100%, or are you still under some restrictions or having some problems with all this? Just in terms of general manufacturing?
Well, to keep distancing, to keep the exposure at acceptable levels, we're probably short about 5 hours a week, but you combine everybody in that, so it's about we're about a day to day and a half short of full capacity. But it's better to have that than to have each process be compromised. So while we're here, we can do the right job, the right quality, and keep our promises for time. But I do look forward to the chance to run normally and have continuity. That's the biggest thing for people to get used to these kind of changes.
Yeah.
Nobody likes change unless it's their own idea.
Very well said. Yes. Well, I'm just thinking that there've got to be a lot of dealers and a lot of customers expecting custom orders and such that are probably rather anxious at this point, with things being a little bit slower and demand being a little bit higher as everybody has more time and are appreciating the fact that they really would enjoy a really nice new guitar. So.
Yeah. Well, if I can give a vote of confidence for my uber capable staff, our dealers aren't having to worry about uncertainty. It's not that they don't know when they'll get their stuff. They've been kept abreast, really well informed, and we're pretty good at our predictions on that. And that Carolyn has a personal relationship with everybody we're talking to. So it's, as a small company, we really can stay in touch with these guys. So they can, of course, relay that to customers. So the disappointment factor is not a big deal for us right now.
Right.
We are booked into the fall, which is a really nice sense of security. So people haven't stopped wanting or ordering guitars.
That's excellent. I just speak knowing that we can be, as guitar buyers, can be a rather impatient lot, having spent more than a few hours standing at the curb, silently cursing the FedEx truck or whatever that has yet to arrive. So
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Well, the other thing that's happened is you went through a virtual NAMM, which had to be a rather unusual experience. What can you tell us about that?
That's a real broad question, and I'll just address it that way. Actually, it wasn't so much that it was unusual, as long as you didn't try to compare it to the in-person experience we've had for the last few decades. I think that absence of comparisons makes for a lot happier life, right?
Okay.
So I took on NAMM as it came, and again, I have this incredible support here. Carolyn spent a lot of time in preparation and preparing our dealers for the way we were going to go about it. So I don't have any complaints about it, in the sense of it was the first try. It was a Herculean effort, and we will build on these successes. As you know, the trade show, the in-person trade show that we know and love is becoming less and less relevant, a little more archaic, replaced by the internet and the way people do things today. So all trade shows were suffering a decline in attendance. And I think this is the way of the future. And this was a great way to practice that. As you know, we don't go to the show with a promotion and build up our sales and hire more people and respond to demand by more production. Our production is really steady. It's really involved with our custom stuff. So our sales are made before we go to the show. Going to the show is maintaining the relationships, solidifying understandings, cooperations, agreements, and so forth. And there's nothing like being in person. And that is something that we all miss, is that personal contact. I've said before that the reason we go to the NAMM show or the music messa is for the opportunities we don't know will exist until we're there. And that is unfortunate. We don't have that right now. So there's kind of a overall view of it. What we did was good. What we'll do in the future, that's the foundation. I hope for more. NAMM has announced a June show that will be on site, in person, with people attending. And it seems wildly optimistic right now because that's in July. But we'll see.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I participated in the NAMM thing as as trying to be there, and it was very interesting. I really enjoyed the Santa Cruz presentations.
Thank you.
Where they felt just like you weren't trying to make it a live event. And where some of them I saw were just disaster. I sat in a couple of things that were just disaster, because it's really hard to do this stuff, without
It is.
TV trucks and lots of technology and people that understand what is going on. And when you put a bunch of rock and roll or hippies in there and give them an electrical cord, look out. So I thought it was really interesting how different companies handled it. My question was, did you guys have any kind of a virtual lounge or anything where you could all just kind of sign in, like a lounge where you could just go and sign on to Zoom and see who's in there? I mean, that's what I missed.
I'm going to say a variation. Yeah, I did too. And as you said, TV trucks, catering, wardrobe, stage director, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, checkbooks.
Companies had a problem with that. Yeah. We just can't, we don't have that bandwidth, nor is it our approach to it. So what we did have is we had videos. You may have seen.
Very great. Very good.
Yeah, a real nice visit with different dealers and them explaining their relationship with Santa Cruz, the benefit of being able to talk to somebody about custom in a Luthery sense rather than a promotional sense, and just the nature of the reality of how Santa Cruz deals with their customers. And that message is impossible to get across in a print ad or sometimes even an interview. So that was very powerful. And during that was, of course, the lines were open for people to come in and ask questions, almost like the lounge concept you're talking about. So Carolyn and I both fielded questions during and after that. And in fact, for days after that, people asking questions about custom and so forth. So it opened up communication. I know what you're talking about, and I miss that too. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just be there in front of the computers if you were in the booth and people would drop by to talk, ask questions, whatever, and we could be on from 9 to 5 or something. And we'll see if that evolves. Like I said, this one was, the expectations were really low. Therefore, I'm not disappointed. Hopefully we could get that next year. Why don't you suggest that to him?
I really felt that your dealer profile was very, very, very effective. It just,
Thanks.
it really, yeah. And I thought it reflected the company, and I thought it reflected that this is how you choose your dealers. You could see it. I mean, I thought that was a really powerful piece, but you're missing I thought that they were missing the lounge at the Hilton.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
you know
Or the
where,
after hours.
yeah, you know, the after hours stuff where, you know, you just end up there and lots of stuff would happen in that. And I guess that's the biggest challenge. You see that Dallas they have the World Guitar Show scheduled for May,
Oh,
which I think is extremely aggressive, you know, but they just announced
wow.
it that they're going to go in May, May 5th, early May,
Wow.
for Texas. Whoa, you know, so I don't know, you know, we got to see a few more turns of the sun before we know where we're at, you know.
Yeah, we'd like to see a few more inoculations and
Yeah.
a few more people coming around to mask wearing.
Yeah,
Well,
that's for sure.
I guess what I was wondering from the experience was, I think Richard touched on that. Have you gotten feedback from the dealers as to how they felt it went? Did they feel like they got the kind of information and feedback that they would need if they were attending a regular NAMM? And secondly, in the way this operated, are there takeaways that you would like to apply to an in-person kind of a NAMM? Is there a way that you think that maybe some of this technology can be incorporated in a in-person kind of event to make it better?
You know, I think I can be the most helpful and honest answer by saying, I don't know.
Okay.
I only have so much bandwidth. I have enough that I'm dealing with keeping you know, the ship upright, the shiny side up here through the COVID and the other disasters you talked about. I really don't have the bandwidth to indulge in how to help somebody else do a better job of what they do. That's why I'm not dodging the question. I say I just decided not to do comparisons between the two. I take what came with NAMM show this year, and really build on the positive. So directly answer your question, our dealers were really pleased with what we did. And this is kind of oblique. Let me try this anyway. For the dealers, that one video that we're discussing showed the dealers talking in terms of personal relationships with me and Carolyn and Santa Cruz Guitar Company and how that was of value to their customers. And the response I got from one dealer is, you know, the Guitar Center watching that video is going to go, well, that doesn't have anything to do with us at all. So it really does help to focus on the people that participated in that video, rather than, let's say, a new dealer that's a full bandwidth store wanting to take on our line. I don't mean this from any point of hubris, but sales aren't our problem. The quality of relationships is the challenge. And that was a really good way to do it. When we go to the NAMM, I will go into a comparison. When we do go to the NAMM show and we talk to thousands of people and hundreds of dealers, there's a lot of dealers that just aren't the right fit. They're fine human beings, but they don't have the model for their store where they could represent us. So a lot of our time is spent explaining to people why you know, it's not really in the future that we would do business together, and it's hard for them to understand. But that video said it all.
Yeah.
Our business is done through, again, personal relationships, I'll emphasize. And I don't know how we ever would have conveyed that on a convention floor.
That's good. It sounds like there was some positive benefit from the way it was done, and that, you know, there was something better about the way it was done as opposed to just trying to be the same as or catch up with some other experience.
Well, I really did mean that in all sincerity. I thought that thing really got right to the point and right to the heart, and that one was just in the way that the honesty and the authenticity from the dealers that were talking was,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You know, you can't do it. Watching the fallout from later, you know, the week after NAMM, I would probably have spent maybe 2 days looking at all the reviews, like Premier
Uh-huh.
Guitar, you know, and I would, all the people that walk around and do interviews through that, and I would have gone through there and seen a bunch of them. And I did miss that, you know.
Yep, I
I
get that.
I thought the companies that tried to do product rollouts like Fender, wow, I thought that was a big flat duck. I mean, it was like, you know, I mean, no, there's absolutely no creativity in the way that they presented the stuff. And, you know, and you used to see in a big wall of red, blue, green, yellow, pink, and purple jazz masters, you know.
Yeah.
And when you see one with a drop down bar to select it, it's kind of a different thing. But the other thing was the people that are normally in your booth kind of did their own NAMM on Facebook. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but for that whole week, everybody that stops in the booth was posting about it.
That's great.
It was really, you know, and it was a huge, wide variety of people from all over the place, you know. And I mean, Catfish went back 8 years or something, 10 years, talked about it, and talked about, you know, his first time meeting you and all that. And James Nash went really bonkers on it, and Eric put up a bunch of stuff, and Lisa put up a bunch of stuff. And
Oh, that's wonderful.
I thought just almost everybody that I know that represents Santa Cruz or in that plays them had their own little party, and that was kind of cool. You know, I mean,
Oh, that's great.
that was kind of cool. It was like a little virtual booth out of a booth. It worked.
That's wonderful. You know, we did miss some promotional opportunity there. We have, you know, as you guys are aware, but most of the world isn't. We've put, oh man, the better part 15 plus years of really serious science into guitar strings. And it's not that we're smarter than a large company that has great resources, but the larger companies, you know, are limited by hitting a price target, and we aren't. Our goal is quality, not a price target. And we've truly come up with something unique, and we were ready to present our Dadgad strings, baritone 12 string at the show to the world market, and we didn't get that opportunity. And we always like to do that in the context of who and what Santa Cruz guitar is, to give people a context and the credibility. So we have to, you know, we have to recalculate and figure out how to go about that as well. And those are all thrilling. They'll grow organically, so that's not a problem. But we didn't get the benefit of the big splash in that. But before I forget, I want to say the thing that was sorely missed is the check-ins, the friendships that I've developed over decades with people in the business. And you know, you guys have heard this before, and I would almost include you in it. There's people who I've watched their children grow up in photographs. We've shared, you know, rites of passage at the show, and the quality of relationships that you develop in that context is like how you learn about somebody when an elevator's stuck, right? You know, all caution goes to the wind, and you end up telling your life stories, and you can develop some pretty intimate relationships. And without that face-to-face contact, they're not being nurtured. And especially my international context, there's just no way I ever would see them all in the same place, and there's no way I can see them individually. So I'm pining a little bit late in my career that might be the end of you know, that part of the business that I truly love.
Yeah, I really wondered about that, you know. And again, that goes back to this lounge idea of, yeah, I don't know, you know, is there a way to, I think trade shows are out the door too. I think the last one I did was 7 or 8 years ago, and I would do 10 shows a year. And I thought at that period of time that it was done. I mean, You know, I watched it go from, I've been to the Mesa and I understand, you know, Kodak used to have one of those entire halls, and
Yeah.
Agfa used to have one of those entire halls, and Fuji would have one of those entire halls. And there was a lot of excitement about it, you know, and there was always some new film or something, or some new camera or some new motion picture thing that they were going to introduce. And there was a lot of excitement around that. But then you started to watch it. I mean, I think even 10 years ago, I was going, why are we spending this money? You know, why are we spending $250,000 to be in New York for 3 days? You know, and why are we doing it? I mean, what are we getting from it? And I think this whole thing has just kind of put a dead stop on a lot of things, which possibly are good. I mean, we've seen wonderful changes in Wendy's, wonderful changes and wonderful success in online dog training. Believe it or not, you would think it's the farthest thing from anybody's brain. But what really happens is, instead of the dogs getting together once a week with these people that don't know each other and these dogs that don't know each other in a 30 by 30 room, and they're all distracted, now they all sit on Zoom in their living rooms and send in videos of their training, and they're really seeing real results, because it becomes about not sit, stay, bark, roll over, but it becomes behavior.
Yeah.
And they would have never had that opportunity, because in a live situation, they're just wranglers.
Yeah.
You know,
I can hear that. Yeah, I took an algebra lesson on PBS TV this morning that astounded me. I just ran into it. It's the inverse of, you don't miss your water till your well runs dry, but also when you don't have something and you find out life's the same without it, you're disinclined to go back and put a lot of energy or pay a lot of money to do it again. So it'll have an effect indeed.
I guess, you know, I just look for the opportunity, you know, and yeah, I miss it too. You know, I miss international friends. I miss all these people that now I, you know, see once a month on Facebook or something like that. That
Yeah, it's hard.
We live together, you know. I mean, for 10 years. I mean, we were a traveling team, and you know, and that's gone. You know, and it can't come back. So I'm in a real fatalistic place right now. Sorry.
Well,
But
you know, it's on me, Richard. You know, when one door shuts, another one opens,
every time.
and the colossal effort of preparation and time that goes into this to the NAMM show, which was critical for us for many years, I was able to spend on other stuff, and there were things I couldn't get to before. And you know about my wood problem, and I was able to reach it to my network of antique wood guys. Some of them, you know, have aged out, but they're still connected. And we got some wonderful sources and some wonderful new stuff coming in that, you know, I'd have missed out on had I been doing my usual thing. So, you know, all in all, it's not, you know, I can be fatalistic about the trade show, but I don't feel deprived at this point.
Yeah.
All right. So you have now brought up two things that we really need to circle back around and spend a little more time finding out about: strings and now wood. So I would like to circle back to the strings. What do you have these other sets now available? Are they ready to order or soon? Or?
Well, what we'd hoped is to announce this at the show. And you know, we've done a lot of beta testing. The DADGAD set especially, you know, as you well know, people just compromise. They put together whatever they can find. And again, this is specific to a playing style, to a tuning, and there was just a lot of low-hanging fruit that could be captured there. And we do have these, let's say, in the can. We've done the beta testing. We have the prototypes. We're ready to order, but our suppliers, as you know, we have 3 different suppliers involved in our strings. It's not just, we don't buy a ready-made string from a company. They're manufactured from components from 3 different suppliers. And COVID has absolutely made mayhem out of that.
Oh no.
So
Yeah, I bet.
getting deliveries has been difficult. We're just starting to build back up inventories, and we haven't stocked up on the baritone dadgad or 12 strings yet because we're still waiting for our orders to come in and our components to get put together. So I was a little premature, but pre-NAMM, it seems like it was all going to happen right in time. So, you know, we're not quite ready yet to deliver those, but I'm certainly ready to talk about it.
Excellent. Well, I mean, are you thinking like maybe March, April? Is that a reasonable time frame? I mean, I can limp my baritone along for another 2-3 months without changing the strings. 12 strings getting pretty bad.
If we don't hit that target, we'll just refer people to you. Thank you.
just steel wool those strings down and keep going.
So
Yeah.
talk about them, Richard. I think that the dadgad idea is revolutionary. I think it's absolutely brilliant from a whole bunch of reasons. Not only being marketing, but for the player. This has been so long in coming. You know.
Thank you. I agree. I agree. And again, this isn't false humility. It's that, you know, there's some marvelous people and companies working with strings and so forth, but they're within the confines of, you know, their economic restraints. You know, what we've heard, you know, with our strings, which, again, cost wasn't the limiting factor. I mean, you know, you've been on forums and you see how people think that we're in league with the Prince of Darkness trying to gouge people on string prices. But guitar strings are artificially low priced. You know, getting a set of strings for a violin or even a bass, you know, we're talking about a lot of money, and guitar strings are ridiculously low priced. But it's an artificial paradigm. We're getting what we pay for. And the improvements are readily available. We're just the ones that came along and put them together and have the science to support those decisions. So dadgad, I could use an analogy. You know, if you sat down and you're used to playing your piano and it got really, really accomplished, and then you try to do something different, and each key had a different resistance to it, you couldn't do your stuff at all. You would sound like a beginner. And in the dadgad set, that's what a lot of people suffer. They tune into dadgad and it just it's like trying to hammer nails into a board that's floating on water. When the tensions are logical and correct, and you get the sonic response from that, life is different. I think this will allow a lot of people to enjoy dadgad that bypassed it before.
I think it's just a fantastic idea. And I don't know if Carolyn told you, but I took a set of low tensions off of a resonator that's been up at Keith Greninger's studio, and I put them on 2.5 years ago, and they were still great when I took them off. And I can't imagine that anybody took care of it up there, you know.
That's great.
You know, I mean, I was truly stunned. In fact, I'm going, huh? This thing still sounds great. Why am I changing these?
That has been my experience as well. I mean, what I do is I take the label of the strings and I write the date I put them on the guitar and put them in the pocket of the case. And every once in a while you're playing something and you go, man, this really sounds good. When did I put these strings on? And you open up the case and it's like, oh crap, has it been almost a year?
That warms my heart. And you know, the answer to that is gearhead talk. It's not marketing. You know, the last thing you want to try to do in marketing is educate or change somebody's mind about why strings last a long time. But I'll keep it really simple. The precision with which strings are made is a much bigger contributor to longevity than any gimmickry of coating or whatever. A string that's really made to precision is going to have a longer tonal life. And that's part of what people should expect to get when they pay more for the string, is better performance. And the irony is somebody spending thousands of dollars on a guitar and begrudging spending another $10 on their strings. So I'll stop. I'll stop. We have a tiger by the tail, and it's nice because our intention was, making strings that would support our instruments, and it's really showed really a lack in the marketplace of people being able to do what a violin player or an orchestral player can do in getting the best for their instrument.
The analogy that you just said is really so accurate. So many times in my industry, you'd see a guy with a $5,000 lens,
Yeah.
a $10,000 lens, and he'd go, just give me the cheapest filter.
Yeah.
So here's all this great optical glass, and he takes something that, you might as well be using a washcloth or something over it, oh, well, it's protecting it. Yeah. And it's just destroying everything that the designer did to do it, just.
That's a great analogy.
Why put
it is.
Yeah. I mean, why put $2 strings on a $10,000 guitar,
Yeah, people have asked, for a lot of iterations of strings from us, but that's really not who we are. We're not a string company. We have a mission and a purpose in what we're offering, and we've thought long and hard to extend this into the DADGAD, the baritone, the 12-string. But we make guitars for all those, and people couldn't get the full the fulfillment out of the instrument they could if they had the proper strings. So we're happy for now. We'll see where we go.
Well, I am very excited to hear that you'll be sending out the baritone strings, because I've been using the medium tension, and they work adequately, but I can't really tune down the way I know the instrument could if I had a heavier gauge string on there. So
yeah, or a string that wasn't necessarily a heavier gauge string, but had more tension, which is the key to what we're doing here.
Right.
You don't have to have a lumbering large diameter string to get the tension that you need for the sound and the feel that you want.
Right.
But I'm getting geeky there. I'll back off.
Well, no, I remember reading a thread where people were asking, they were saying, well, many of these guitar manufacturers are using these very inexpensive strings. Why should I buy a more expensive string? And I remember trying to explain that when somebody's building a guitar, they may be taking those strings on and off the instrument, a half a dozen times while they're getting everything tweaked and adjusted and set up. You don't put expensive strings on an instrument that you're taking on and off and on and off and on and off, while you're trying to get everything dialed in perfectly. And plus, they figure that the dealer can put strings on or whatever else, but,
And they do. Some dealers change strings as soon as the guitar arrives.
Right. So that it sounds nice and bright. So, well, excellent. That's wonderful news. And then the other bombshell you dropped, I want to hear about what new woods you've come across. I may not have a wood problem quite as bad as yours, but whenever I hear about wood, I'm like, oh, what's he got?
He has 4 bandsaws.
Yeah, come on.
He has
Chad,
4
the
bandsaws.
first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem.
Well, I don't admit that I have a problem. I admit that other people think I have a problem.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Yeah, so one of my, real fond memories of my childhood is going up to kind of obscure waterways in the Sierras with my family. And there's this one place, I'm going to call it the Rock Haven Dam, that was built in 1911, and it was built from big redwood planks. And it's time to upgrade. And so as those planks came out to be replaced, one of my old contacts, it goes back many, many years, that's been retired, got wind of it and contacted me and Lloyd Baggs, and we both went. Lloyd actually called me, so I got it from two different directions, and I jumped on that. So this is Sequoia, not Sequoia sempervirens that mostly is used in guitars, but the Sequoia gigantea, the old stuff, like Jan Peterson and Laurie Fuller used for their surfboards in that project, and it's just it's the story behind it is beautiful, because these trees are so majestic and represent such a wonder of nature. And it's also a bit of a different wood as far as density and so forth. So these planks that have been submerged, when the trailer came up to the shop, I looked at them, and they were really gnarly, really shaggy. They had bolt holes in them, and it's the kind of thing. I mean, seriously, you would walk right by if you saw it out on the curb at a construction site. And I was able to pick the ones that had appropriate, vertical grain in them. And when I sawed into them, it was like angels singing and rainbows and unicorns. The color goes from buckskin to purple, and the grain is so fine from these trees that had uninterrupted growth for millennia. It's really like opening up a time capsule in it, and I'm thrilled with this stuff. We're gonna go through a process. It's not kiln drying it, because air drying is actually more beneficial to sound than kiln drying. It's a vacuum process that assures that it reaches a proper equalized moisture content is stable in a guitar. And so I should be able to get that out and play with it, probably in another 8 weeks. So while I was in the midst of that distraction, we got this cedar. That the cedar was actually underground, and it weighed more. I don't know how it did this, but it weighed more than the combination of the material and the volume of water it could contain. It was so soaking wet. And this is not, bound moisture from the living tree. This is just the moisture that the dead tree collected once it fell. And I've had that now in a process into blocks and put in the right place in the shop for over 2 years, and that's finally ready to start cutting into. Ooh. And that's the same thing. Cutting into that is like, you go back to the first grade and sharpening a pencil, and all the memories come flooding in, as well as the beauty of the look of the wood and the grain. And one of the things that really moves me is this sense of time. When you look at this piece of wood, and the grain is so fine in it that you realize if you started counting the grains across maybe a 10-inch piece, you're going way back in history. Going to like Jesus's time, when this tree would have been a little tiny sapling. So that's a good description of where I go when I cut into wood. And what could be more beautiful than this wood creating music? That's the beautiful part of it, and that I get I get to play a part in creating that. So both of those two woods will be available probably within another 2 months when we can start building with them. I've got some sycamore, walnut, and we'll also be making more noise about the ancient cowrie here pretty soon. So, if I wanted to, I could squander all my time working with the wood, and I'd be really happy. But I probably also wouldn't have a job, so balance it out with the rest of it. Not that this isn't a pleasure, mind you. Well, so I'm sorry, I went off there, didn't I?
No, it was great.
I got lost on my wood stuff, but I'm trying to convey the thrill of this and the feeling of obligation and responsibility when I do get to work with it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about, because I've been around the Jan's wood a lot.
Yeah.
And one of the people that worked on said, I feel like this is Roman time, and this is this, and I don't know, when I'm sanding it, I feel like I'm breathing air that was the same air as was in the Egyptian tombs, you know. And
You are.
you're actually doing that, and it's such an amazing connection to the whole process. That's really. Were there any pictures of the
Yeah.
of the
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be fun to see those. Of the,
We will document this. I took before and after pictures of cutting into this, and we do have some photographs of the original reclamation on it. So
wow,
it'll
great.
be, we'll make hay out of this for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, I know what that's like. I salvaged a bunch of old 2x12 fir that had been the roof rafters of a structure that was built in about 1920.
That's gorgeous.
And, I mean, it was just nasty, gnarly. You know, the asphalt roofing material dripped over the edges of it and everything. And you know, I've only done one piece so far, but you scrape all that off, join it, and it's just stunning. It's got to be 300 years worth of growth in a 12-inch piece of wood. It's just amazing.
Well, not to one up you, but if you have the proper use for this, I after the Santa Cruz earthquake in 1989, there was a old building with a board sidewalk in Aptos that was built on the cliff, and in shoring that back up, they had to take out this beam that was like, oh my gosh, it's like 18 by 24 by about 15 feet of fir. And that's a pet, and I have no idea. I don't want to touch it. I don't know what to do with it. So if somebody has a noble purpose, now you know that exists.
Mm.
And that would have been from about the same time, about turn of the last century, about 1900.
Wow.
I'm reading David McCullough's book on the settling of the Ohio Valley, and the whole way that they put it together right now. And all his descriptions of the forests are walnuts and chestnuts that haven't been touched for 1,000 years, you know, and all they can see is just forest as far as they can see, and just unbelievable. You know, they're felling a tree and they get an 80-foot piece of walnut that is straight.
Boy, Richard, you know, when Notre Dame burnt, my heart sank. I was going, you know, the timbers that was built out of are irreplaceable. They just don't exist anymore.
Yeah. That stuff that it's such a grounding, not to go all California woo-woo, but it's such a
that's a permanent condition.
Yeah, it is, but it's such a grounding thing to know what you're working with has been here forever.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
I wish that
forever.
for everybody to have that connection.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place. That really is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
You know, just recently with the horrible windstorms that we just had, we lost some ancient sequoias up in Grants Grove, up in the Sierra. Again, my childhood stomping grounds, and I want to make a pilgrimage up there when I can and see what that looks like.
It's we've lost a lot of big trees down here too in that last week and stuff like that, you know. And we lost Highway 1.
Oh.
Probably about 3 years on this one. This one's a whopper. This one's a big one, and
it'll grow back. It'll grow back.
It'll keep the it'll keep the tourists down. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Southern California can't get up here with its influence.
You got to go the long way. You can't.
Yeah, but what are they going to do about the car commercials and the hair commercials with the people blowing their hair across Bixby Bridge?
They're filming them in Oregon and the Russian River right now.
Oh, really? I thought they had built a Bixby Bridge in China.
No, let's hope. Let's hope not. There was just a.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Silly at other people's expense here. What's your next question?
To get really in the woods, I just saw a really great picture of Philip Glass standing in front. In front of the Bixby Bridge, and it was, you know, he lives up that canyon, you know, and I was like going, oh wow, what, you know, what a great, it's just a really, you get his music if you understand that, you know.
That's awesome. He used to live across a canyon from us up out of Scotts Valley, and we would hear music in a still night that was just unearthly.
Yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Well,
Okay. Well, we won't distract you with this, but I did win enough gas money in a crap game in up Bixby Canyon to be able to go to New Mexico and meet my wife and come back here and be a guitar maker. So that ties it all together.
There you are. There you are. Yeah,
Me and Richard Brodigan.
it's such a special place. I've had access for a number of years to the Kerouac cabin.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you just, what are you gonna do? You know, I mean, you just sit there and soak it up. Guitars. Let's go back. Tad, you got anything?
yeah. Well, I was going to say he mentioned listening to music, and I was going to say one of the things I want to ask him about is any new artists that they're working with or any new music he's listening to. You know, we've asked you that in the past, and during these times of COVID, what has been on your playlist, so to speak?
You know, I've been a little retrograde here. I'm being a little cagey here, not because I have a secret, but I'm just not ready for this yet. There is a profound influence on my early awakening to guitars and guitar music. Old-fashioned leftist politics, racial equity, the whole thing. Back to the dawn of time and Washington Square. And this person that was such a huge influence on me is, of course, well advanced in his career, but still active. And we're doing a signature model with him. And I'm about to pop wanting to talk about it. But I spent a lot of time with this and a lot of time with him. And also just the ethos of the time that was a little ahead of me, when Bob Dylan was hitting the scene, I was like still in grade school, I was before that. So I came into this a little bit later. So going back and listening to some of that today is pretty simplistic tunes and songwriting, but it changed the world. It was so profound and it was so heavy and direct with its meaning that aside from the sophistication of the songs, again, that's why where we are today. And I really wanted to inculcate that stuff and get full of it for preparation of doing this guitar. You guys know as well as I what that discography is. But man, that really takes me back. So with all my self-serving image of being cutting edge and exploring new music and world music and stuff like that, I went the other direction and I went back to the roots on this, and it was good. It puts me in my place. How's that for oblique?
That's wonderful. I have a feeling I might know who this is, but I won't say anything. Richard and I have had the great pleasure of spending some time talking to a variety of Santa Cruz artists during the time we haven't been able to speak with you.
Cool.
And it's been wonderful to hear these people's perspectives and how much they love their acquaintance with their guitar, their Santa Cruz guitar, how much it's meant to them in their development as an artist and as musicians and everything else. So it's always exciting to hear about another signature model guitar coming from Santa Cruz, because I think that you working with some of these artists manage to nail, just where they are and just what you can do.
Well, if I could take opportunity of this, and this may sound a little self-serving, but our signature models are really different. They're a product of my relationship with the artist. And in most cases, we probably already made instruments for the person and evolving into a guitar that would have broad appeal, and it becomes a signature model. You know, the normal way of doing that is you have an R&D person, A&R person that goes to the artist and offers them a deal, and they present a signature model, and off you go. And ours comes from the other direction. And so all of these signature models mean a lot to me in that regard. You know, they're like little time capsules of my development, my life as well. It's a cool thing.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. I remember I got a Sonia signature model H just because the specs on it seemed great, and I played it and was like, wow, this is a really wonderful guitar. No idea who Sonia is. Then at the anniversary concert, I remember I got a chance to meet her, and I said, you know, I love playing your guitar, and we had a wonderful little chat over breakfast in the side yard at the shop. And it's a very special memory to me.
Thank you for that testimony, Ted. You know, Sonia is a powerful woman, and her message is profound. And one of the measures of somebody's commitment to their cause is longevity, and how long they stick with it. And that it's not just that they followed a trend and then they went off to a real life and became a realtor or something. And Sonia's put her neck on the line, carrying on the tradition of the singer-songwriter and the protest movement and so forth for her whole life. And with that, a lot of risk. You know, she put herself in harm's way many times. And I think she's horribly underappreciated. And who knows the whimsies of the marketplace. Sometimes it's very cruel. But anybody listening to this, Sonia, Disappear Fear, I highly recommend you listen to her stuff.
Yeah. Very good.
Great. Hey.
All right, well, Mr. Newman, what do you say? What more is there anything I've forgotten to cover that we thought we would talk about?
I don't think so. Richard, it's really great to see you, and we really appreciate your time. I know that the people that are watching this are appreciating your time. We've started a new section on the forum for only podcasts. So the podcasts live in one spot now. They don't live kind of randomly. Some of the earlier ones were back on page 50. And, you know, let's get them all in one spot where people can find this information and get this information. And we just thank you so much for your time.
Yes. You know, Richard, thank you. I'm moved. I appreciate that. You know, from my point of view, I'm sitting here talking to friends, and I can't imagine anybody else who would be interested in that. So thanks for putting me in the right place. Let me make a quick amends to the forum. I've got really dear friends, including you guys, in the forum, and it means a lot to me. In years past, I participated in answering questions on a daily basis, and with this last year, the demands on my time have been such that I have not participated. And it's not from a lack of interest. It's from a lack of thinking that I could give a quality offering to that. So I've been more of a spectator, and I appreciate that you guys have carried the burden of keeping that alive. I'm really grateful for it.
I think everybody gets as much from that, and of course, we tried to keep pertinent questions that are something that is interesting. We try to bring those up to you, you know, and I think it's so much better to get your visual response than it is to, you know, read something. It's really great that you've taken the time to answer these questions and do this stuff. And the forums, it's going a really interesting direction. I think we've had our biggest thread in the past week, and the difference between a Don Edwards and an Eric Sky. And
that's great.
It is great, and it's a huge thread. And the guy that bought it is in Scotland or Ireland. Where was he, Tad? One of those two, and the guitar had to be shipped, and you know, the guitar went back to Germany, and The guitar's been on a little bit of an adventure, and he wanted a Sky, but he wouldn't ever find one used, and he found a used Don Edwards somewhere in Europe, and there was all this great community that happened on the forum with bringing people back and forth together, and it's taken a very interesting direction. The musician interviews are becoming popular.
Oh, that's wonderful. Lastly, gratitude to both of you, Ted. Thanks for what you do to help promote the cause. And between you and me, you know, the guitar making is only a vehicle for the message we're trying to get across here. And I really am proud to work with you. And Richard, your service to monitoring the forum, moderating the forum, and the stuff that you do is really appreciated. But it's also a great message to everybody else that's suffering COVID fatigue right now. Man, there's been a lot. We've been called upon to really deplete a lot of resources of compassion and care for others because it's so damn wearing. But Richard, you personify the fact that the thing that makes us the happiest is in making other people happy. And your service that you do in keeping the forum going and getting information out through the documentaries to other people, I'm sure gives you that kind of satisfaction and recharges you to forge ahead and keep it up. So, you know, Richard sets the example there of, you know, look out for others. It'll make you feel good.
Yeah,
that's it. Thank you. I really appreciate
I
that.
want to wholeheartedly back that up and say that, you know, that Richard's efforts to keep the forum going and to keep it on track and to keep it focused and give it direction and just the hours he puts in. I mean, it's very, very greatly appreciated, Richard. And I think
we do it for
everybody on the forum should let you know that.
We do it for the community, and I couldn't be more honored to do it for a company like Santa Cruz that has such a moral standing that just makes me feel great every day.
Thanks, brother. You make me happy.
Yeah, me too.
We hope you enjoyed this installment of the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. For more music-related fun, please join the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF or santacruzguitarplayers.com. If you have any questions or possible podcast topics, please contact us. If you have a product or service that you feel would be of value to our listeners, please consider adding your support and keeping the coffee pot on. Contact us for more information. We ask that you hit the like, follow, bell, or bookmark buttons so we can keep you informed of upcoming podcast episodes. We hope you enjoyed Santa Cruz Coffee Break. Now it's time to go play your guitar.